Mad Sports Radio, The Gang Green Report, with Mike Damergis, Martino Puccio, and Rob Carpenter.
Mike Damergis along with Martino Puccio and Rob Carpenter for the Gang Green Report. Week 5, and the Jets dropped to 0-5, everybody. 30-10 to the Arizona Cardinals. And the hits, Rob, just keep on coming. Where do you want to start today?
It really doesn't matter. It's pretty much going to be all the same all the way across the board. This team is I think right now they're basically just giving up. I thought they would actually come out with a little more fight with Flacco at the helm, having a veteran quarterback in there just a little. But right from the first series, he missed his first throw to Jeff Smith on the bootleg, which probably would have been a first down. And then, right after that, Jeff Smith drops a 3rd and 1 for a first down. And it just seems like the wheels just fell off right after that.
Yeah, Martino.
Like you said, the hits just keep on coming. It's worse.
And Martino, the biggest star on the team without question is Le'Veon Bell. And he's basically retweeting people and liking things that, basically he wants his way out. The Jets need to trade him. And he's liking tweets that people are saying that.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? He looked great on the few runs that he was having. He was almost 5 yards per carry. And then for some reason, Gase's reasoning is that the Cardinals took him out of the game somehow, even though they lost their best defensive player. I don't know what he's talking about in terms of that. They were still giving it to Gore. The one target in the pass in the catching game too for him. It just, Braxton Berrios is getting more targets there. You saw Wesco had the same amount of targets and receptions too. So you don't really understand where it's all coming from. And Bell's kind of been a guy who's, he hasn't been causing issues like a lot of people really think that he has the reputation of doing. I mean, he's been a pro through and through for the couple of years that he's been here now. But now at this point, it's just enough is enough. He came back healthy, and they're still going to Gore. They're not giving P. Ryan any looks. It's just a disaster still.
And, Rob, when you have a player of Bell's stature, that carries a lot of weight because if your star wants out of town, is maybe not directly dissing the coach, but he certainly wants out, that sends a message to the rest of the team, and the locker room is basically going to follow.
It absolutely does. It sends a big signal to the rest of the team. You have a guy who they were praising coming into the season. Unfortunately, he went down with an injury in the first game where he was actually having a decent game. He has to sit for 4 weeks, basically. He comes back, and he's healthy. And like Martino said, he was actually playing a very good game. His runs were crisp. He's usually a target in the passing game. That was nowhere to be found. And it's just one of those things where you have a guy who hasn't caused any issues with the team, who was a perennial All-Pro with this team, come in and his coaching staff just basically makes him disappear. And have no rhyme or reason for why that actually has happened. And you're right. The other guys that are watching, especially young guys, they see it. They know he's taking subtle shots at maybe the coaching staff and probably the management as well of this team, ownership as well. Because if he's liking retweets of him wanting to be traded or people saying he should be traded, that's his mindset right now. He's just like, I really want to get out of this dumpster fire and go on and get my career back underway where it was. And other guys are probably going to want to follow. It's going to be a trickle-down effect like it happened a few years ago with the defense when Fitz was having his last year, and he actually just had that terrible year. And the defensive guys are just like, look, this is the way it's going to be. I don't want to be here. And pretty much everybody's going to follow suit.
And after the game, the head coach had his post-game press conference and basically was asked, okay, you're 0-5. Where do you go from here, coach?
We got to learn from this film. We got to figure out a way to play, a full 60 minutes. And we need all three phases, playing well together. It's just like one side's playing well, the other side's not. Then we finally start getting something going, and then we fall apart on the other side and just not giving ourselves a chance to be there in the end.
Rob, what is he talking about? You're 0-5. Can you give me some answers? Try to get something going. This defense isn't playing. The offense isn't playing. You're 0-5. Give me some answers. This guy has no answers to give anybody.
He never has an answer, and I think that's the political answer that he actually was giving about trying to get all three phases playing at the same time. When your offense is putting the defense in bad situations, and you have a defensive coordinator who likes to put pressure on the team to take chances to try to get the ball back, and they don't have the pieces over there to cover down, you're going to get big plays. That's basically what's been happening. Offense is sputtering. Defense is taking chances. Defense is getting beat. And there's really no special teams. I mean, special teams is non-existent. So there's your three phases right there. So, again, that's the politically correct answer. But in a way, I think he was actually taking a little subtle shot at Greg Williams, saying that, when one side gets something going, the other side needs to pick it up. Really is not much going on any side of the ball. The defense is giving a pretty big play.
At least with bad teams, you could make some improvements and be competitive. Build up a decent defense, run the ball, and they should be able to run the ball with Bell, and have a great special teams. And you can keep yourself competitive. This team right now, Martino, they're absolutely not competitive, getting destroyed week after week after week, 14, 17, 20 points. It doesn't matter. It's just the same old song.
And the past two games, both their opponents haven't even played their best. These are like the Cardinals weren't absolutely amazing yesterday. Kyler was still making mistakes. The Jets didn't even turn the ball over. They won the turnover battle again, and yet they're still losing by double digits. They're top 10 in takeaways, and then what does Gase and the offense do with that? They score the least amount of points in the league with 15. They're a full point behind the Giants on that. And it's just really pathetic because you're right. You're not even being competitive at this point. At least lose going down swinging. And even the biggest gut punch is this. They're picking third as of today. The Falcons and Giants are ahead of them. So even then, you can't even look to Trevor Lawrence on the weekend and say, okay, just a couple more weeks and we're that much closer to maybe getting him. There's still more rumors about Adam Schefter talking about Darnold getting traded and all this stuff. The thing is this. Even whatever value you get back from Sam Darnold, if he plays well, the Jets aren't going to be in position to get Trevor Lawrence if he plays well, right? Because that means they're probably winning games. And that's the last thing they want to do.
I don't want to hear this, and Martino, we'll stick with you. Connor Hughes from The Athletic had some great tweets out from the press conference this afternoon. So why don't you touch on those, and we'll get reaction from Rob.
Well, I think the funniest one was probably the LaMichael P. Ryan quote, and he was saying that he didn't really want to stunt his growth by using him. He got 0 touches in general yesterday, so I guess in his opinion, you're better off sitting on the bench watching Frank Gore gain 2 yards per carry. Damian Woody was a guy who said it's the easiest position in the sport to transition from college to the pros. And he's actually shown flashes. So I don't understand. You don't learn from doing, and this is something you taught me at school, Mike, like you have to practice and actually attempt to get better so you can get better. You don't get better by just sitting down and doing nothing. I don't get how LaMichael P. Ryan is going to get better as an NFL running back if he's just sitting there. It's just, what is there to gain? This isn't Aaron Rodgers where you sit behind Favre for years and he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. Like that was one time. It's not. I don't know where the line of thinking is coming from.
Rob, what do they have to lose? Give him a shot. The fact that they're saying he's not ready. Come on now, really, seriously, Rob.
That's a bunch of baloney. You can see, and I agree with Damien. And I saw those tweets before we came on, and I actually responded to one of the tweets from Connor Hughes. I basically said that translation just means that Gase just doesn't like P-Rod. That's all it means. And
read between
you have a guy
like that. Reading between the lines, he doesn't like it.
That's all that means. When you have a guy that is a draft choice of yours, who you are looking forward to have around as maybe your stable back, and in his rookie year, he has a chance to play because Le'Veon Bell actually went down. You put him in, sparingly behind an older guy in Gore, and then you actually bring on another guy who you actually cut earlier to play in his place at times in the passing game, who basically was making mistakes in the passing game, getting your quarterback killed, and P. Ryan wasn't. P. Ryan actually was picking up blitzes that he was actually supposed to pick up. So, like Damian said, the easiest transition from college to pro is running back. Every other position on the field is a hard position, but the hardest thing to learn as a running back is picking up blitz, plays, and he's done that. He showed that he's smart enough to do that. It just means that Gase just doesn't want to put P. Ryan on the field, which we have no idea why at this point, because, again, he showed flashes. I've heard everything about him during camp before his injury, that he was probably the best running back that they actually had on the field during camp. And every reporter actually had tweeted out that at one point in time. So, it's just one of those things. I guess Gase just doesn't like playing young guy, and P. Ryan falls right into that spot.
And tweets coming out again by Connor Hughes. Gase considering giving up the play calling. Rob, you were with the offensive genius back in the 90s, Bruce Kotzlet, and he was criticized for his clock management. Maybe he should give up the play calling. Is that something that you think a head coach shouldn't be doing? He should be worrying about the whole instead of concentrating on whether it's an offense or the defense?
When it's affecting game plans and when it's affecting the actual gameplay on the field, he should look to actually give it up, because the head coach is, as you just said, the coach of the whole team. When you have good defensive coordinators who can take that half of that away from you and let you concentrate on your specialty, if it's play calling, then that's an ideal situation. A prime example right now is in Kansas City. Everyone gives Andy Reid the praise, and Eric Bieniemy is actually calling the plays, and that gives Andy Reid the whole team himself to actually look over. He doesn't have to worry about the play calling because they're on the same page. At this point with the Jets, I don't know who you're going to turn to other than Jim Bob. So, he had success in Detroit, so that would be one thing. But I just don't think that this is his ideal situation to be calling plays, because of the way the actual team has started out. I don't think they can actually get much better at this point. Game management might be a little better for Gase, just a little. I'm not saying that's going to be much better either. But, at this point, as he said in the press conference, everything is on the table. And since everything is on the table, he probably should just give up play calling just to see how things turn out, because it can't get any worse.
Martino, years ago, or it was 5-6 years ago now, hired Todd Bowles. The fans were talking about, we want Dan Quinn. Well, Dan Quinn's out of a job, but at least he took a team to Super Bowl, and he was 500 with his team. We're talking the Jets coaches. You're talking being 10, 15 games under 500 here. Not the case yet with Gase, the case for Gase. But, if a guy like Dan Quinn gets booted after taking a team from a Super Bowl, and at least it has the team at 500, there's no way that Gase could last the season.
I mean, Bill O'Brien, too. He just went to the playoffs, won a game against the Bills, the Jets' divisional rival. It's not really a rivalry. But, look, it's pathetic. And we all know what happened. And Connor Hughes was the guy. When we talked about a few weeks ago, the plan is to still keep Adam Gase on for the rest of the year. And at this point, I don't even care. I mean, go ahead. It'll guarantee the 0-16 if you want it to at that point. That's probably the only silver lining when you look at it that way. And the other things are this. I mean, just like they put back Darnold in a game, and he's not even a guarantee to start next week, right? He got sacked immediately, and he's going to miss a couple weeks now. And this is the third year in a row that he's missed time, whether or not it was, the mono issue last year, but he also had surgery on his thumb and the foot injury, and was a quote unquote unofficial benching when Bowles took him out that year too, was the rumor. So, I mean, there's just like, I don't know what you do. It just, you hope you just keep on losing poorly. And there were other fans on social media too, just saying, this is the point where you get up and you say, you don't buy merchandise. You don't show up for events. If they do eventually allow fans back into the stadium, whether it's in November or December, you don't show up. You have to, what else is there to do at this point? Because he's lucky. Gase is actually lucky there's no fans there. Can you imagine what would happen if they were playing this game in front of the Cardinals crowd? We've seen it before. I mean, it wouldn't be anything new, but this is this is absolutely rock bottom and the worst that they've been since the turn of the century. It's not even close. And by the week, it just gets worse, because how many times is Gase going to say the same thing over and over again, where he's dancing around the real answers that fans want?
We got to look at the tape, I guess he says. One other thing I want to touch on, Rob. You played with a very talented tight end back in the early 90s, Johnny Mitchell. Thought he was going to be a Hall of Fame tight end, never panned out. We're watching Chris Herndon. He can't hold on to the damn ball. Now, I don't think Herndon is a head case that Mitchell was, but here's a talented guy that's literally got the butterfingers and is really diminishing his value.
He is, and it's unfortunate because after his rookie year, everyone thought he was going to be the next great tight end. You know, he was on pretty much everybody's radar as being a great athlete, and he could stretch the field. He could open up the middle of the field for the Jets. They were going to have that middle of the field tandem for Darnold. And ever since the season started and that fumble happened in Buffalo, have no idea what's happened to him. It just seems like he just went into the tank and drops passes that are right in his hands. He seems like he's really lethargic on the field, like he's not really running his routes like as crisp as I've seen him run his routes. He's not running his routes as hard. And the weird thing is, it's not just him. It's the whole tight end group. You know, Griffin drops passes that wouldn't think that he'd be dropping. He's non-existent in the game plan now, and he was a big part of the situation last year. So, and they gave him an extension. So it's just really weird what has happened to that whole tight end, the tight end group in a whole. But especially Herndon, because he was supposed to be that guy to actually be one of the good ones on offense that Darnold could look forward to getting the ball to and being able to stretch the field. It's just like, it just seems like ever since that fumble, he's gone into the tank, and it's just, he's got a case of the yips. You know, hopefully he can get that turned around and start holding on to the ball. Because even yesterday, the grab that he had, they had to review whether he fumbled or not. So I don't really know what's going on, but hopefully he can get over this very soon.
Well, 0-5. We're close to, got 11 more to go to be 0-16 and a chance at the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. I'm Mike Damergis for Rob Carpenter and Martino Puccio for the Gang Green Report. Week number 5.